Welcome, tennis fans, to Tennis Traverse, Exploring the Game, the podcast that delves into the heart of the tennis world. I'm your host, Ivy J. And in today's episode, I will be talking about the Roland Garros, which is also known as the French Open, and that is the second major of the year. Before we start, please follow all of my social medias, that is Instagram and Twitter, using @TennisTraverse, that is @TennisTraverse. If you're listening on YouTube, comment, like, and subscribe. If you're listening on other streaming platforms, please rate my show. And if you haven't subscribed to my newsletter already, please do so. The link is in my show notes. Or if you guys still can't find it, you can click on my link tree and it will has all the links to everything. So you guys will probably find the link to my newsletter on there as well. And let's get right into today's episode. So before I talk about the women's singles and the men's single, I just want to talk about this French Open overall. I feel like this French Open, at least for the women's side, it has been really predictable, and I feel like because of Iga Swiatek's dominating performance throughout, for 3 years now, there really isn't much, the closest player that ever got into, sort of beating Iga was Naomi Osaka in round 2, and I felt like that was basically the final of this tournament because that's the only match where Iga dropped a set. But apart from that, I feel like just overall this tournament on a women's side is just consisting of basically Iga dominating. And I think part of it is this can be an issue because a lot of people first tuning into women's tennis will feel like it isn't as competitive per se compared to the men's side, but that's only because I feel part of the reason is because the men's side, it hasn't been this open in such a long time, and the other reason I feel like is just that it's still it's a good thing for Iga because I feel like she's really deserving, and I feel like, a lot of people were calling her the mini Rafa, or the female version of Rafa. Still, I feel like you still can't compare those two because Rafa had so many more titles on clay, and his legacy is just, because he's been in the game for longer, so his legacy is definitely, more in depth in a way, but yeah. Okay, and I'm really happy that for the last week, because there's 2 weeks in a major, and on the second week, I don't think there was much rain, which is definitely a good thing. But apart from that, let's talk about the women's side first. So on the women's side, I want to talk about the quarterfinals, and then I'll move on to the semifinals, and then I will talk about the final, which happened today. So for the quarterfinal matchups, the first match I want to talk about is between Iga Swiatek and Margarita Vondrousova. So in my opinion, every match this tournament related to Iga is just an easy win, apart from the Naomi match, which I mentioned before. But prior to this quarterfinal match, Iga actually beat her 4th round opponent, which is Anastasia Potapova, with a double bagel, so that is 6-0, 6-0. And I think it's just part of the reason why players lose to Iga so easily on clay is definitely mental, but the other reason is just Iga is so dominating and clay really suit her playing style. So for you guys that don't know, basically when you're playing on clay, the ball is a lot slower, so there's more rallies, and you also have to be really it's easier to get to the ball, to run to the ball. So if you're a player with a lot of power, it's really hard to sort of use that power in a way because the players are able to get to every corner of the court. But I just feel really happy, to be honest, for Marketa because she really hasn't had the best year. She literally was a Wimbledon champion. However, I felt like this year she really didn't do well, and I think she sort of slowly to pick up her pace again, and to see her win to go as far as to the quarterfinals is already a great thing. And then I want to talk about the next quarterfinal match, which is Coco Gauff versus Ons Jabeur. This sort of has a similar tone to, Ons Jabeur has a similar tone, in my opinion, to Marketa in a way that they both haven't been performing that well, at the start of the year, but they're ranked really high and they're like slowly coming back in a way. But the only difference between the two matches is that Ons actually had a chance of winning. Sorry if that sounded harsh, but Ons actually won the first set against Coco, but she lost the second two. And compared to Marketa, who lost in like 2 straight sets, I felt like Ons, because of course she's really good on clay, so I feel like her playing on clay, in my opinion, is stronger than Marketa Vondrousova on clay, so I feel like that definitely had to factor in. But apart from that, I feel like this was an incredible match as well, and I think Coco again just proved to everyone that she is capable of winning and going into the second week and going really deep in a major tournament consistently. And now I want to talk about the next 2 quarterfinal match. The first one being Mira Andreeva versus Aryna Sabalenka. So the reason I want to talk about this match was because it's the next quarterfinal match, and it was just, I think no one expected Mira to beat Aryna, because I felt like Aryna's been doing really well in clay, and this year has been like one of her best seasons yet. But if you guys see the highlights, you'll see that Aryna really wasn't feeling well. I think she was having some stomach issues, which seemed to be like a common theme around the players at this tournament, which is something that also happened to like Elena Rybakina and Casper Ruud, which I will mention later on. But apart from that, I feel like I'm just really, I really admire Mira's ability to turn a game around, because she's literally like a day younger than me, and she's playing on the biggest stage of tennis, and she lost the first set, and like with her mindset, she's still able to win the second 2 sets, the second set and the deciding set, which is like a really like impressive thing to me, especially because she's playing against the world number 2. And now I want to talk about Jasmine Paolini versus Elena Rybakina, which is the next quarterfinal. So this quarterfinal, in my opinion, was also kind of unexpected. But as I mentioned before, I felt like Elena definitely wasn't well. I feel like she definitely had some stomach issues going on, which is sort of similar to Aryna Sabalenka. But I feel like Elena has been struggling with like her basically digestive system like all year, and I think it's a common theme for her, and I'm still really proud of her making it this far to the tournament. But I'm incredibly proud of Jasmine Paolini, just because she's been playing so well and she's won a Masters title already this year, and for her to make it to the final of this tournament is just incredible. And the thing I want to talk about is how Elena had 10 aces, whereas Paolini only had 1, but she still manages to win. And I think so based on the stats, we can see that Elena had 11 breakpoint opportunities and converted 5, whereas Paolini had 16 and converted 7. So we can see that while the match is indeed a 3-round match, but just from the breakpoints conversion and how many breakpoints they have, like respectively, you can see how like sort of more aggressive Paolini is compared to Rybakina. But I have all of these matches linked, so if you guys want to just check one of the matches out, feel free to do so. In my opinion, I really liked the last 2 matches I talked about, which is Mira Andreeva versus Aryna Sabalenka and Jasmine Paolini versus Elena Rybakina. I also quite liked the Coco one versus Ons Jabeur, but the Iga Swiatek game match was just too like one-sided for me. Okay, now we move on to the semifinals. The semifinals was, in my opinion, like not that entertaining compared to the quarters, because they're both like 2-set matches. So the first semifinal I want to talk about is between Jasmine Paolini versus Mira Andreeva. So when I was looking at this matchup, I expected Mira to win. I just felt like after they both beat so Jasmine Paolini beat the number 4 player in the world, which is Elena Rybakina, and Mira beat the number 2 player in the world, which is Aryna Sabalenka. So they're both going in to this semifinal sort of with confidence but with like pressure, because they literally just beat like the best players in the world. So they are definitely under a lot of pressure, but I just didn't expect Paolini to come out that on top. But if you watch the highlights, you can see that Paolini was actually on fire and she was actually playing like super good. And I think Mira just, well, she's really young and I feel like she's definitely improving her game a lot compared to last year. We really didn't hear much of her before last year at all, so I feel like for her to make it to the semifinal at 17 years old is already incredible. And then the other match I want to talk about is between Iga Swiatek and Coco Gauff. So I think this is the 10th time or the 11th time they played each other, and the record like head to head is Iga winning 10 and Coco only winning 1. I believe it was in Cincinnati, I think. And I just thought, okay, I think everyone coming into this Roland Garros and seeing this matchup, everyone expected Iga to win just because it is basically Iga's home court. It's French Open. She's been a champion here 2 times in a row. She's looking for her 3rd year in a row title here, and she has 4 titles total at French Open. So I felt like everyone just expected Iga to win. And I guess the scores, it's 6-2, 6-4. There isn't a bagel or breadstick, but it just shows how dominating Iga is compared to even the top players in the world at French Open. And now I want to talk about the final. I didn't watch the final, guys, because I was taking a test, so I couldn't watch the final. I missed out on it, but to be honest, looking at the score, I didn't there really isn't that much to say. The score is 6-2, 6-1, with Iga becoming Roland Garros champion for the 4th time and the 3rd year in a row. And there really isn't that much to say. Yasmin had 1 breakpoint and converted it, whereas Iga had 9 breakpoints and converted 5 out of 9 of these breakpoints. And apart from that, I guess looking at winning percentage on first serve, Iga's winning percentage is close to 70%, whereas Yasmin's is closer to 40%. That is a huge difference, but I guess that just shows how aggressive Iga is, even attacking a first serve. And yeah, I guess that's it. But I'm really happy for Iga. I feel like, again, she really proved herself. I feel like if you prove yourself 3 times in a row, it really shows that sort of you are dominating. You are the one who's going to win this tournament. For example, Aryna Sabalenka, she won Australian Open last year and she won Australian Open this year. And I feel like if she win Australian Open again next year, then it sort of just sets the tone that she is one of, not the one, but the one to win that tournament, if that makes any sense. Still, I expected Iga to win and I did predict the winner, but I just think Iga really established herself again and proved that she is capable of winning 3 years in a row at a Grand Slam, which is a super incredible thing to achieve, because if you really think about it, in tennis you only get 1 shot at a tournament, because if you lose for example, your 2nd round match, you don't get to continue. And for a Grand Slam, you have to win 7 matches in a row, which is insane to me. And Iga have been doing that for 3 years now, so she has basically a 21 game winning streak, which is insane. Okay, now I want to talk about the men's singles. I want to talk about some of the 4th round matches, because I just wanted to talk about it because something happens in 2 of them and I think they're quite entertaining. The first one is between Novak Djokovic and Francisco Cerundolo. So I believe Francisco also made it in the 4th round of Roland Garros last year, but he lost to Taylor Fritz, I believe. And this match, I guess, the reason I wanted to talk about this was because Novak basically injured his knee and injured his meniscus, I think, in this match. I'm not sure, don't quote me on that, I'm not sure, but I know that he injured his knee and he had to get surgery afterwards. And Cerundolo actually had 1 match point, but he's Novak, and he basically won this match. And of course, he won that deciding set with a score of 6-3. So basically, Novak won the first set 6-1, lost the second 5-7, lost the third 3-6, and won the fourth 7-5, and then won the fifth 6-3. So that is incredible. I feel like despite this year probably being like one of the worst years, to be honest, in Novak's career, his ability to just play through like basically a knee injury and still win a 5 set match in a Grand Slam on one of the biggest tennis stadiums in the world is just incredible, especially if the crowd, well, the French crowd is known as being like really one-sided, and I feel like a lot of the French crowd wanted Francisco Cerundolo to win, but Novak is just like that, and he's literally gonna just win every 5 set match just because he is him, you know? Okay, and now I want to talk about another fourth round match, which is between Daniil Medvedev versus Alex de Minaur. I said on this podcast like not a few weeks ago, like 1 week ago, I was like, if Daniil Medvedev, because the field of men's single this year is really open. Literally everyone has a shot of winning, and I was saying that because Medvedev really isn't good on clay, like in the prior clay tournaments, I feel like if he can make a deep run, then it really like proves to everyone and I feel like it's a great opportunity for him to do so, just because obviously it's really open so everyone can win. So I just thought that this was an incredible opportunity for him, and I guess he did make it far compared to his last few years. He made it to the fourth round. Sorry, my email thing just, I don't know what that was. Okay, so he made it to the fourth round and lost against Alex de Minaur. So I'm not taking anything away from Alex. I feel like Alex has his year so far has been one of his best seasons ever, and he, after losing the first set to Medvedev, he won the other three with a score of 6-2, 6-1, and 6-3. So it was really dominating, and I think, okay, here brings me to another point which I want to talk about. Sorry if I'm going like a bit off topic, but I do want to talk about this, which is like the difference between 5-set matches in Grand Slams and best of 5-set matches compared to best of 3-set matches on like every other tournament. So basically, if you guys aren't familiar, on the men's side, players play best of 5 matches. So if it's tied 2-all, they play a deciding set to decide who the winner is. But if it's any other tournament, so for example, Masters and 1,000, which is a 1,000-point tournament, a 500, 250, it's all best of 3. So if the players get like 1-all, so like the set is tied 1-1, they play one deciding set, and whoever gets to 2 wins the whole thing. And I think it's really different because it really tests the player's ability to close the match on a Grand Slam, because you have to win 3 sets, which really isn't easy at all, and it's much longer, and to win 7 matches in a row playing 5-setters isn't easy, and it's really challenging. I feel like not only on the players' bodies, but it's like sort of in a way challenging for the tournaments to schedule it, just because 5-set matches take such a long time. You can often take like 4 hours, 5 hours, even 6 hours, so it just takes a long time. But however, I feel like I don't want to change the traditions of 3-set matches, and I think, well, it's a good thing for tennis fans. I mean, for me, I really like 5-set matches because I just get to watch more tennis, so why not? Okay, and now I want to talk about the quarterfinals, which have some entertaining matches. So I want to talk about Carlos Alcaraz versus Stefanos Tsitsipas first. I'm really happy that Steph is making like improvements and going deeper consistently in this tournament. However, I mean, Carlos is my predicted tournament winner. So still Carlos beat Tsitsipas with a score of 3-0. And I mean, there was a tiebreak, so Tsitsipas definitely tried, and I think he really, again, established himself that he can make it far in a Grand Slam consistently. And then I want to talk about Grigor Dimitrov versus Jannik Sinner. So I also have this quarterfinal match predicted on my PDF. If you guys don't know what I'm talking about, if you subscribe to my newsletter or follow me on Substack, it has the whole Roland Garros prediction, and everything I don't talk about on here, it's on the PDF. It has all the predictions, all my predicted upsets, all my predicted good matchups, and it has everything. So if you guys want to see that, please go subscribe to my Substack. And I said that well, in my prediction, I said that Grigor Dimitrov will be Yannick Sinner. I admit it was sort of like a bold prediction, but I just thought that Yannick's hip will definitely affect him a lot. But I think I was overly concerned. I felt like the hip really wasn't a big issue at all. I feel like it didn't affect his movement at all because he was actually moving really good and moving really quick. But that's that, and Sinner won with a score of 3-0. Okay, now I want to talk about Alexander Zverev versus Alex de Minaur. So this was another quarterfinal match, and I think this match was really interesting in a way because, okay, well, it's still a 3-set match, but compared to the other quarterfinals, I feel like this one is the closest because, okay, Alexander Zverev won the first set 6-4, won the second set with the tiebreak of 7-5, and then won the deciding set with a score of 6-4. So it was just really, well, I would say it's pretty close, and I feel like Alex really did try his best. Looking at the stats, I mean, the only thing I can talk about is conversion of breakpoints because Alex actually had 8 breakpoints but only managed to convert 3, whereas Zverev had 6 breakpoints but converted 5. So I guess part of this is mental and like it really, in a way, okay, so let me put this into context. So if you're returning your serve and you have a breakpoint, it means that if you convert that breakpoint, you're up in the game and you have to hold your serve and then you're up in the game. But if your player, like your opponent, is serving really well and you can't return it, they basically like save the break point. So I feel like part of it has to determine definitely on your opponent's serve, and the other part is like your mental strength because you know that if you convert this break point, you'll get a lead if you hold your serve, which is a relatively, in my opinion, an easier task compared to like breaking a service game. So yeah, but I think that's that. And then I want to talk about Novak Djokovic versus Casper Ruud because there wasn't a match. So Novak, as I said before, I hinted it briefly, but he had to get a surgery done because of his knee injury, so he withdrew. So Casper is automatically into the semifinals. And as I said before, this is probably Novak's worst year, and I'm really sad that it has to end like this, but I feel like he still has a great chance of winning in Wimbledon and US Open, and there's also the Paris Olympics going on. I feel like even though this hasn't been his best year, his form before he got injured was actually pretty good, and I feel like he definitely has the ability to win a title, a major title even. And then I want to talk about the semifinal matches. So let's talk about the first match, which is between Casper Ruud versus Alexander Zverev. So this match, in my opinion, was not really entertaining. Part of the reason was because Casper Ruud, well, again, he had like a stomach issue. Everyone has been having stomach issues, weirdly, but he actually won the first set with a score of 6-2 and then lost the next 3 with a score of 2-6, 4-6, and 2-6. However, I just felt like the stomach issue definitely impacted him a lot because, okay, I wasn't watching this match, but my mom was texting me and then she was saying how he just looked really tired and he just didn't really like look well, like just physically he didn't look like he was ready to play tennis, if that makes any sense. Like he looked like he was tired. So I think I felt really bad for Casper, but like still, he's had, I feel like, one of his best seasons on tour yet. He's won a 500 title. He's won a title in Geneva. So I think he's pretty good. Yeah, okay. And now I want to talk about the other semifinal match, which is, guys, a highly anticipated match. It's between Jannik Sinner versus Carlos Alcaraz. So, of course, this was a 5-set match. Prior to this match, they had 8 meetings, and the head-to-head was 4-4. So this was the deciding match. And, I mean, okay, there's mixed opinions on this. Some people were saying that still they played a 5-set match, and Carlos, despite being down in many of the sets, he still managed to come back, and that just shows Carlos's ability to, like, come back in a crucial match. And a lot of people were saying that they were hitting the ball really beautifully and like they're striking the ball with so much power that it's beautiful. But there's another side which they were saying that this was like one of their worst ever matches because both players were so nervous and they wanted to win so badly that they like couldn't really let loose and they weren't like at their best. In my opinion, I felt like this was a good match, even though there wasn't like a lot of incredible points. Like, I don't know if you guys remember, but there was a point, I believe in 2021 at the US Open where Carlos like hit a shot behind his back. If you guys know what I'm talking about, you'll know what I'm saying, but it was just incredible. There wasn't any like amazing points like those, but this regardless was still a match between, I feel like, the future of tennis. So this was just an incredible match in my opinion. Okay, now we move on to the finals. So again, I apologize. This episode is recorded on a Saturday and the finals is actually taking place on a Sunday, which is tomorrow. So I just wanted to record this episode. So I will be predicting the finals matchup, and if you guys want to stick around, please do so, and you guys can check if my prediction was right or not. But if you guys just want to click off because I already know, like, you guys already know who the winner is, then please feel free to do so as well, because the rest is just going to be predictions, which you guys will literally already know the results of. But if you guys want to stick around, feel free. So I want to talk about the final, which is between Alexander Zverev versus Carlos Alcaraz. So my prediction, short and sweet, Carlos is going to win in 4 because I just felt, okay, Carlos is my predicted men's singles champion, and I feel like he's just capable of doing that because I believe he beat Alexander Zverev. Wait, sorry, no. But he has like an advantage of head-to-head on clay against Alexander Zverev, but like the overall like head-to-head disregarding clay, it's 5-4 Zverev. So I think this is a great chance for Carlos to like get his first title on clay, like get his first title on French Open at the same time as leveling out the head-to-head against Zverev. And I think it's a great opportunity because I feel like he can do it. But if we really look at his level of playing against Jannik, I feel like he really needs to step it up because, well, we can't really tell because I just felt like Carlos wasn't at his best when playing against Jannik, whereas Alexander Zverev really wasn't at his best. Well, we don't know if he was at his best or not because he was playing against Casper Ruud, who literally had a stomach issue. So if your opponent isn't really performing well, it's really like you can't show what you're capable of, if that makes any sense. So I think this will be an incredible matchup. I'm really excited to see where this will take us, but I think Carlos will win in 4. Okay, that's all for today's episode. I have like all the matches I talked about linked, so if you guys want to go check it out, it's in my show notes. It's under like links mentioned, I believe. So if you guys scroll down, it's all like YouTube highlights of the matches I mentioned. But thank you so much for listening. Subscribe to my social medias if you haven't already. I have been like on Twitter more because it's Roland Garros and I've been actually like putting out my thoughts on Twitter. So if you guys want, please go follow me on there, and you can follow me on Instagram as well using @TennisTraverse. That is @TennisTraverse. If you're listening on YouTube, comment, like, and subscribe. Also, if you guys want to just like, I don't know, find me on like Instagram DM or like YouTube comments, tell me what episodes you guys want to listen to, because we're done with the Grand Slam, so there is like a period of time where there really isn't that much top level tennis action going on in a way. So if you guys want to hear anything like just related to tennis, please feel free to comment or reach me anywhere and tell me what you guys want to listen to. But that's that. And if you're listening on other streaming platforms, please find my show. It really helps me a lot. And yeah, I'll see you guys next week. Bye.